Oh, hello, Bubs. Oh man. Oh. All right, why is it out of focus? There we go, Bubs. We are back with new book arrivals number 264. These are from a book sale I went to. It's a 4 times a year book sale, and I'll just start pulling books out. Another copy of Donna Tartt's The Goldfinch, which I read on this channel. And the lady at the checkout said to me, she goes, I didn't like this book. And I was like, yeah, I agree. The writing was good, but the story was absolutely farcical. She goes, the movie was way better, which I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. Maybe I shall. But yeah, I think this is my sixth copy of Donna Tartt's The Goldfinch. There was another one, but I just left it there. I was like, be nice and let someone else have a book. Foolishly so, but I allowed it. The book sale. $5 bag sale Sunday. Credit cards accepted. $10 minimum. The next one will be October 2nd. Is that really the next one? June, July. Yeah, this is the best one. October is the best one. Maybe it's only 3 times a year now. Anyway, I got another copy of Roald Dahl's Lamb to the Slaughter. A Penguin 60. It's not 25 cents. It was 50 cents, but it's hard to find copies of these anywhere anymore, unless you pay like $50 on eBay, which I'm never doing. So I find them where I can, and I found this one. This one's probably actually worth like $10, although I may be over exaggerating that. The Norse Myths, Pantheon Fairy Tale and Folklore Library, Kevin Crosley Holland, introduced and retold by him. The Norse Myths. 1980, but something tells me it's later than that it's a reissue. Just the look of it says 90s or 2000s. What's this? One of those poorly cut pages. Acknowledgements. No. These are books that I picked up today at a book sale. I always document them because I have way too many books to document, so I just go through them, and in case there's a tornado or a fire, I have proof that I had the books for insurance reasons. Plus, it amuses me. The Norse Myths. Now, I don't know what year this is, or if it's a first edition paperback of A Confederacy of Dunces, but I've never seen this edition anywhere. LSU, Louisiana State University Press. I don't know, this could be a valuable book, but I doubt it. But you never know. I've never seen this edition anyway. No signature either. 1980, this might be, is that when it was? Fifth printing, so probably mid 80s, but I've never, like I said, never seen this before. Hello, bruv. John Toole's novel. Confederacy of Dunces is, I can say without hesitation, a fantastic novel, a major achievement, a huge comic, satiric, tragic, one-of-a-kind rendering of life in New Orleans. No one has ever or ever will capture the particularity of the backstreets, middle and lower class whites, blacks, and other ethnics of New Orleans as Toole has. Hello, bruvs. These are just no interest to the common fool, but this fool, I collect them. Michigan Historical Review, and people say, well, they're not worth anything. That's maybe true, but they also have particular stories that probably can't find anywhere else. If you're researching Michigan, which I do often. So I picked up 5 different issues to go along with the other ones I already have. Hopefully I don't have any copies or duplicate copies. Fabricating Independence, Industrial Labor in Antebellum, Indiana. What the fuck does that matter to Michigan? Come on, no. Indian grave robbing at Sault Ste. Marie. There we go. That's interesting. 49. Let's see. There's something very interesting in there. Indian grave robbing at Sault Ste. Marie, 1826. By Bernard C. Peters. Very few Americans of European descent would condone the digging up of the remains of their ancestors in the name of science. Such an act would most likely result in legal action, if not physical retribution against the desecrators. Yet, the plundering excavation, if by a scientist, of the graves of Native Americans has been going on in this country for over 200 years, and by some of the most respected men of their times. Oh, it's Indian grave robbing. I thought it was just regular grave robbing. This will prove less interesting just because most of them were not documented, so they're probably more like mass graves. But still interesting. What is this? Building a better prison. The first 3 decades of the Detroit House of Correction. Waiting for water. Following the North Star, Canada as a haven for 19th century American blacks. There he is, Hank Ford. Henry Ford, industrial ecologist. Never leave me. Let's make Detroit a union town. Power of Porch Talks, the Civic Improvement Society of Monroe. Is that Romney? Looks like George Romney. Assume that it is. HUD and the open housing controversy, a mess of pottage. Debate over religious pluralism at the University of Michigan, complicating citizenship. Women don't do news. The National Farmers Organization and Farmers Bargaining Power. And then there's these 2 books. That's all for that bag. How to Stay Alive in the Woods by Bradford Angier. I do have a copy of this. And like this copy, it has splitting to it, which I did not notice when I picked this up. But still probably can sell it. Or at least keep this one and then sell the other. Probably a $10 book. Yeah, I didn't notice the splitting. Or I would not have gotten it, bro. Don't Blame the Treaties, Native American Rights and the Michigan Indian Treaties by Philip Mick M. What the fuck is that? Mick MCM Pittman. With George M. Covington. Don't blame the treaties. Little sweeties. One day I may research Indians in Michigan. Why Did He Wed Her? By Mrs. Eden Southworth. If you look over there, don't mind the boxes on the floor. You can see right there is a whole line of Eden Southworth books. And there were so many editions made by companies like A.L. Burt and what's the other one? Donahue. Collier's, maybe? No. What were the big ones? A.L. Burt, Donahue. Anyway, yeah. There are numerous. Does it say Mrs. H. Gruning, Port Sanilac, Michigan, 1916. June 28th. I paid $3 for this in the special book room at the big sale. These sort of portraits that went on these books were often, if you Google, if you ever get one of these books and you Google lens it will show you all the books that these certain little paste down art pieces went on. So this probably likely isn't a one and done. It's likely appears on another pulp novel or pulp romance. Eden Southworth was a pretty good writer, although most of her stories are sort of romances. All right. Time to go to this. Death at Chappaquiddick. Richard L. Tidrow and Thomas L. Tidrow. Obviously, it's about Teddy Kennedy and what's her name? I can't remember the lady's name who got killed when he crashed his car into the Woot. What's her name? I'll say it right here. Mary Jo Kopechne. From 1976. Look at that guy. Nice hair, bro. Wait, is that his father? Oh, yeah, it is. Father and son wrote the book. The Boiler Room Girls are the little distractors throughout the whole Chappaquiddick case. This distaff brigade of loyal helpers are the only ones who really played their parts well. They show up better than the men and win the supporting cast award in their faithful efforts to prop up a terribly weak performance by Sir Teddy. These girls were old friends with the common background of having worked for Robert Kennedy in his Washington, D.C. boiler room. This was where the running count of convention delegates was kept, while RFK was making his play for the presidency. This effort died with RFK when he was assassinated in Los Angeles by Sirhan Sirhan. Well, he wasn't really killed by him, but yeah, there you go. What's this? 3, 6, 9, 10, 12. That's book number 13. Book number 14, Shakespeare. And this is some really fucking small print. Doesn't really say what this book is. And it could be because the first 3 pages are missing. But it's a cool little book nonetheless. I don't know what year it is, and the writing is so pitifully small. And look at my finger compared to the writing. Some small ass writing. The devil speaks in him, not for you, most wicked sir. So I don't know what year this book is, but it's a pretty cool looking little book. It just says Shakespeare. Probably could find a copy of it somewhere, but it almost looks like this has been rebound. Be great if this was like a fucking... See, you got some nice little illustrations. Even if the book's not worth anything, it's got cool little illustrations. Next book, Alice by Bulwer Lytton. Not sure. Oh my God. Iowa City, Iowa. The book is the property of the Hotel Albion. Albion, Michigan, Donahue and Hannaberry. Alice, or the mysteries? Who art thou, fair one, who usurped the place of Blanche, the lady of the matchless grace? Lamb. $18.96. Mostly got it because it was from the Hotel Albion, but I like the book itself too. For $1, you can't really go wrong. I'll have to look up the Hotel Albion. I assume it's Michigan. Yes, it is. Why this guy in Iowa City owned it, nobody knows, but it's got a pretty cool cover. Alice. Go ask Alice. This is a NCS book. Great ghost stories. 101 terrifying tales. Compiled by Stefan Diezmanowitz. I looked at it and said I'm not getting it, but then I got it anyway, because why not? Fall River Press. Probably already have the book, but I didn't really care. For $1, can't complain about a book of horror stories. Sonnets from the Portuguese Peter Pauper Press. It's in a slipcase. As I said, for $1, you can't beat that. Got some sonnets. Can it be right to give what I can give? To let these sit beneath the fall of tears, as salt as mine, and hear the sighing years, re-sighing on my lips, renunciative. Through those infrequent smiles which fail to live, for all thy adjurations, O my fares, that this can scarce be right. We are not pairs, so to be lovers, and I own and grieve that givers of such gifts as mine are must be counted with the ungenerous. Out, alas, I will not soil thy purple with my dust, nor breathe my poison on thy Venice glass, nor give thee any love which were unjust. Beloved, I only love thee, let it pass. All right, buddy. Who wrote these? Elizabeth Barrett? Browning? Right. Weird edition for the Peter Paulers. Press. Peter Pauper, whatever it is. Peter Pauper. I add to my collection. Another Daphne du Maurier and this dumb biatch. Actually, I think I put him in there. Daphne du Maurier, Don't Look Now, with a dust jacket. Probably have 2 or 3 copies of this, but I'm eventually. I think I did list some of these on eBay. Gotta get rid of some. But I'll always pick up a copy with the dust jacket. How many books did this woman write? 1971. Originally came out in 66. Alexander Dumas. The Vicomte de Bragelonne. 7. Sure that'll come right off. Possibly, maybe. Hell yeah. Why would anyone even leave it on? Hell yeah. Alright, that's gone. The Emile Mazie Library. Presented to the Emile Mazie Library by Alex Kovacs, Chairman, Local 2 Retirees for all UAW retirees. Alexander Dumas. P.F. Collier and Son. What year is it? Doesn't say. Or does it? Yes, it does. 1910. Obviously, Dumas wrote The Three Musketeers. I've never read that. And I'll probably never read this, but for $1, I couldn't pass on it. Obviously, part of a collection. of which I got a second copy. What is it? The two Dianas. Dirty Diana and Clean Diana. Now this tape's stuck to me. What's this? Volume 3? Did not see any of the other volumes. But when you're at a book sale picking, you probably can't get them all. 1910 again. The Count's Son and the King's Daughter. According to a custom of Francis I's reign, 3 times at least during the week, the king and all the lords and ladies of the court met in the evening in the apartment of the queen. There they planned or talked over the events of the day in all liberty, sometimes with all license, and amid the general conversation, many a private one found a place. And finding there, says Brantome, a troop of human goddesses, each lord and gentleman conversed with her, whom he loved best, with her whom he loved best. Often again there was dancing or acting. Gee, sounds exciting. I like the sides of these. The spine. What is this? I didn't look this. This one isn't what I thought it was. Hungry Hill by Daphne du Maurier. Don't believe I have a copy of this, but I might. I do now for a book. 1944. Note, every character in this book is entirely fictitious and no reference whatever is intended to any living person. Copper John, Wild Johnny, Crayon John, Henry, Hail the Inheritance. It's been a long day, he said. You should have rested this afternoon instead of walking with us through the woods. I thought it was too far for you at the time, and then lifting Molly about here after tea. She is too heavy for you now. Does the other little one make a heaviness? The other little one is quiet. All right, what else do we got? Sinclair Lewis's Bethel Meriday, a novel of the young girl on the stage. And unfortunately, it's missing part of the jacket. I guess I didn't look inside to see if it was in there, but that's the unfortunate part. I don't think I've ever seen a copy of Sinclair Lewis that was in the wild that had a jacket on it, honestly. It's not a very exciting one, but it's a jacket nonetheless. (1940) To Cornelius Horace Traeger. Sinclair Lewis. What's that? This book. I was going to check this book before I bought it. Roses and Their Culture by Hubbard. What's that say? Orange juice? Orange Judd? Claims it's from 1933, but I don't know about that. I was hoping that it would have colored illustrations, but it's mostly just this. Nothing special. So it's probably not worth anything, but still a cool book for a book. Is that 14? Yeah, I don't know. 20-some books I got. What do we got here? Complete Stories and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe. Another copy. What's this? I saw that with this while I was there. The Fall of the House of Usher. Complete Stories and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe. Doubleday and Company. 60s? 1966. Probably my 6th or 7th copy of this sort of compilation. This is a fucking... No, it's just a dog-eared page. Haven't read Poe in years, probably never will again, but it's at least amusing. The Merchants of Venice by William Shakespeare. This is Cameo. Cameo Classics. Not sure what year it is. See these illustrations. Oh, those are pretty chintzy. Portia, if you choose that, wherein I am contained. What year is this? I'll guess 40s or 50s. Could be wrong. 1909? No fucking way. This doesn't look 1909-ish. But I could be wrong. Alright, we got a couple left. Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre. Does that say? Melfred Barnes? The World's Popular Classics Art Type Edition. Jane Eyre. Printed in the United States. A preface to the first edition of Jane Eyre being unnecessary, I gave none. The second edition demands a few words, both of acknowledgement and miscellaneous remark. Don't believe this is remotely a second edition. But I could be wrong. 1847, no fucking way. Looks like about 1930s. Well, I could be wrong, like I said. But this book does not look old in the relative sense of old. And lastly, we have this book. The Ides of March by Thornton Wilde, which I just bought last month. Or was it in... Yeah, it was in April. I bought it. But this one has a dust jacket. So, this is an upgrade from my other copy. That's Thornton Wilder. Disappointing. Looks like a fucking milkman. Harper and Brothers Publishing, New York and London. What year? 1948. Historical reconstruction is not the primary aim of this work. Nice copy. Guess we can count how many books I got. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 24 books plus 3, 27 total books for I think 23 bucks. With a $2 coupon I had off, so it was more or less 25 bucks I paid for these. Not a bad deal. Some were 50. That's all. How many did I say? 27 books? So what's that? 50, 60. I got almost 100 books this week. Hell yeah. What, bruv? I think I bought 100 books, close to 100 books this week. I still have tomorrow left in my vacation, so I will go find 7 books somewhere and make it a complete 100. Yeah, because I had 33, 50, 60. I'm at about 85 or 6 books this week. Let's see what great ghost stories are in there. Frank Stockton, Clive Pemberton. Ambrose Bierce, A Wireless Message. 673. Oh, pardon. Mrs. Molesworth. A Wireless Message. In the summer of 1896, Mr. William Holt, a wealthy manufacturer of Chicago, was living temporarily in a little town of central New York, the name of which the writer's memory has not retained. Mr. Holt had had trouble with his wife, from whom he had parted a year before. Whether the trouble was anything more than incompatibility of he is probably the only living person that knows he is not addicted to the vice of confidences. Yet he has related the incident herein set down to at least one person without exacting a pledge of secrecy. He is now living in Europe. Oh, shit. Get my shoe on. One evening, he had left the house of a brother whom he was visiting for a stroll in the country. It may be assumed, whatever the value of the assumption, in connection with what is said to have occurred, that his mind was occupied with reflections on his domestic infelicities and the distressing changes that they had wrought in his life. Whatever may have been his thoughts, they so possessed him that he observed neither the lapse of time nor whither his feet were carrying him. He knew only that he had passed far beyond the town limits and was traversing a lonely region by a road that bore no resemblance to the one by which he had left the village. In brief, he was lost. Realizing his mischance, he smiled. Central New York is not a region of perils, nor does one long remain lost in it. He turned about and went back the way that he had come. Before he had gone far, he observed that the landscape was growing more distinct, was brightening. Everything was suffused with a soft red glow in which he saw his shadow projected in the road before him. The moon is rising, he said to himself. Then he remembered that it was about the time of the new moon, and if that tricksy orb was in one of its stages of visibility, it had set long before. He stopped and faced about, seeking the source of the rapidly broadening light. As he did so, his shadow turned and lay along the road in front of him as before. The light still came from behind him. That was surprising. He could not understand. Again he turned, and again, facing successively to every point of the horizon. Always the shadow was before, always the light behind. A still, dumbfounded is the word, that he used in selling it, yet seems to have retained a certain intelligent curiosity to test the intensity of the light, whose nature and cause he could not determine. He took out his watch to see if he could make out the figures on the dial. They were plainly visible, and the hands indicated the hour of 11 o'clock and 25 minutes. At that moment, the mysterious illumination suddenly flared to an intense and almost blinding splendor, flushing the entire sky, extinguishing the stars, and throwing the monstrous shadow of himself athwart the landscape. In that unearthly illumination he saw near him, but apparently in the air, at a considerable elevation, the figure of his wife, clad in her night clothing, and holding to her breast the figure of his child. His eyes were fixed upon his wife with an expression which he afterward professed himself unable to name or describe. Further than that, it was not of this life. The flare was momentary, followed by black darkness, in which, however, the apparition still showed white and motionless. Then, by insensible degrees, it faded and vanished like a bright image on the retina after the closing of the eyes. A peculiarity of the apparition, hardly noted at the time, but afterward recalled, was that it showed only the upper half of the woman's figure. Nothing was seen below the waist. The sudden darkness was comparative, not absolute, for gradually all objects of his environment became again visible. In the dawn of the morning, Holt found himself entering the village at a point opposite to that at which he had left it. He soon arrived at the house of his brother, who hardly knew him. He was wild-eyed, haggard, and gray as a rat. Almost incoherently, he related his night's experience. "Go to bed, my poor fellow," said his brother, "and wait. We shall hear more of this." An hour later came the predestined telegram. Holt's dwelling in one of the suburbs of Chicago had been destroyed by fire. Her escape cut off by the flames, his wife had appeared at an upper window, her child in her arms. There she had stood, motionless, apparently dazed. Just as the firemen had arrived with the ladder, the floor had given way, and she was seen no more. The moment of this culminating horror was 11 o'clock and 25 minutes standard time. I don't know about terrifying, but ironic, perhaps. That's all, bruv.